Hello internet, we meet again. I'm getting a strange sense of deja vu, nearly 1 year on. Nearly a year ago, myself and a bunch of friends went to a midnight screening of The Legend of Ruby Sunday and The Empire of Death series finale double bill, and it was a midnight one because that was when it was doing its international simulcast rollout on Disney Plus and the iPlayer and everything. Now, me and a bunch of 10 friends went to the View Cinema in Manchester city centre to watch Wish World and the Reality War double bill. And it's much brighter now than it was when I recorded that previous video because it's about nearly 9 o'clock, and I'm doing this reaction before there have been any big press releases. I don't know what the future of the show is in terms of the official announcements. Who knows, when I'm recording this video there may be an official announcement on what Billie Piper is doing with the next episodes of Doctor Who, if there's going to be a Christmas special or a hiatus or whatever. I don't know at the time of this recording. The only thing I do know is that it's not been officially confirmed that Billie Piper is the Doctor. But before we get ahead of ourselves, last year when me and my friends left that midnight screening of Empire of Death, and it was a full screening, cosplaying fans, excited fans who walked in, and when we walked out about 1 a.m. on that June morning, it felt like we were leaving a wake. Everyone was miserable. It felt like everyone hated it. Everyone was miserable by that ending of Empire of Death, which honestly is probably one of, if not the worst finale of Doctor Who's revival. Leaving the screening of the Reality War, it did not feel like a wake. It was much more positive, and also it was a massive screening. It was like a nearly sold out, fully booked screen, and I went on the View website a couple of days ago and I saw that they were having 4 screenings of the Reality War in that same cinema. So clearly there was big demand. A lot of people went, which was really good to see. It means that, there is actually, it's a niche market, but there is still a pretty sizable market of Doctor Who fans who will go to these midnight and go to these finale screenings. I think that's really good. It says a lot about the commitment to the fan base. But so Wish World is interesting story. It's blocked really weirdly. It's directed really weirdly, but it actually looks very good on the big screen. Because it is in a massive screen and it's got the 8K Disney Plus post-processing and resolution and stuff, it looks really good on the big screen. Really great crystal clear image quality and really good special effects, surprisingly good special effects. And then for the Reality War, the money's up on screen. It looks good. There's some pretty strong, good action set pieces. They're definitely giving the unit set a massive workout. They had the sparks flying or the pyrotechnics, and there was a really, really ambitious action set piece where the top of the unit tower revolves and it's able to fight off those bone creatures. That's pretty epic. That's pretty cool. I don't know what to tell you. It looked good on the big screen. And the moments as well towards the end with the regeneration, when the Doctor is hanging out the TARDIS door and the regeneration energy scatters off in all those different directions. It looks really good. Very photogenic series for the most part, with a very photogenic, beautiful Doctor with Ncuti Gatwa, or ex-Doctor, as we should say. Because it was interesting going into this one, because I think most of us anticipated that the show would continue, it would go on, but we genuinely going in didn't know, would Ncuti regenerate? Would he stay on? If he doesn't stay on, do they just fade away or cut to black before the regeneration finishes? Does he even get a regeneration? We don't know. We didn't know going in, and that was really interesting. Also, there was a preview of The War Between the Land and Sea, a minute-long trailer, but then I look on YouTube after leaving the cinema, and that's just been uploaded onto the YouTube channel. Which is strange. Wasn't it advertised as there being a 10-minute preview? There was a multi-minute preview of the War Between the Land and Sea, but no, they just dropped the trailer that we saw in cinemas, which is a bit strange. I think that maybe I misread it. There might have been some false advertising there. But for the Reality War, I actually, it wasn't as bad as Empire of Death. I understand that is a subterraneous bar. Okay, it wasn't as bad as the worst finale in recent memory. No, it was better than that. I think that what's happened with the last episode, the reality war, because the scene towards the end, or I say by the end of the second act, when the Doctor and Belinda and Ruby and Poppy are in the TARDIS, I checked my watch, and Valida Sethu did a little, like, oh, well, thanks for coming out to the cinema, here's the reality war, it's 68 minutes long, she said. So I checked my watch when that scene in the TARDIS was happening, and I was like, okay, there's still 20 to 25 minutes left of the episode. What's going on here? So I think that this was meant to be another 45-minute or 50-minute finale. And then when it was, for whatever logistical reasons, I'm sure the news will come out in the coming weeks and months of why Ncuti decided now was the time to leave. They decided to give him a proper send-off and do a 20-minute epilogue, a 20-minute goodbye. And I think that's what's happened. I think that's why it's kind of been stitched together in that way. I think that the reality war as a finale was not created with the intention to send off Ncuti Gatwa. That's my theory. We'll probably find out years from now. But yeah, it was better than Empire of Death. I felt like its themes, while still really muddled, were a lot more cohesive and a lot more thoughtfully executed than Empire of Death. I thought that the performances were really strong, and it actually did feel like there was something resembling an arc for the characters, which doesn't really happen in Empire of Death. The Doctor's emotional journey in Empire of Death takes place between scenes. You don't see it. That's one of the big issues with Empire of Death as a finale, not to mention its a complete reliance on the past of the show when it really should be looking forward. I'm in two minds with the reality war in the way how it handles the past elements. Like, we have a montage of Doctors on the monitor again for what feels like, in the past 4 episodes, that's happened 3 times. We can't keep doing this, lads. I'm sorry, Russell, we can't keep doing this, you know. Yes, in the story in the engine, it was really great, and it actually was to do with the themes of the story, but to do it twice in this finale, no, just stop it, please stop it. Now, although I will say, Belinda got absolutely shafted in this story. Not only was she literally locked in a box for a big chunk of the finale, but it completely goes against essentially everything we've known about this character from the very beginning, from the Robot Revolution, when she didn't want to be tied down. She resented the idea of being Mrs. Belinda Chandra. And obviously she's not married when we leave her at the end of the story, but she is essentially just there to be Poppy's mum. That's Belinda's role. She is reduced to her biology, locked in a box, and also Steph Diwali has a triumphant return as Anita from Joy to the World, which was very funny in my group of friends because John, from the 5 Who fans who joined me for the Lux reaction on stream, the professional animator, he still has not seen Joy to the World. So when so much of this finale ties back to that Christmas special, and he was like, I don't know who this person is. I don't know what it was very funny for us personally. But props to them bringing back the Time Hotel and Anita to round off the story and to get the Doctor out of that cliffhanger. I thought that was earned. I thought that was quite triumphant and very nice. But then they have Anita, just this pregnant woman, just stand by and stand back for the majority of the finale to keep the door open. Get a fucking door stopper. Come on. And it's so funny as well. Every so often they've got this big group in this unit HQ, the big unit family: Mel, Shirley, Ruby, Belinda, Poppy, Kate, Ibrahim, the Vlinks, Susan, all of this unit family. And every so often the camera will just cut back to Anita because they're standing with the door open. What is this? Come on. Very ridiculous. So the gender politics are completely out of whack here. I also don't expect Russell T Davies to solve the incel crisis. I don't expect Russell T Davies to solve the manosphere and the podcast grifters. But I feel like having so much of season 2 in particular built around the idea of radicalized young men, from Conrad to Al to Kid in Interstellar Song Contest, and then all that the finale does is just, I wish you were happier. And then he just becomes a bottle cleaner and works at a cafe and he's happy. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not expecting Russell to solve these big existential issues with the gender binary. Well, I was hoping for a little bit more than that, to be honest. But yeah, it's an interesting one to try and. I'm gonna have to like wait and like sit on it on the reality war as to whether or not the first 2 acts work, as to whether or not it comes together. The idea of Omega in the Underverse becoming his own legend, and he comes out of that big door. His body is skeletal and he's too big. He's physically too large to like make his way out of it, and he's just this husk. Cool idea, actually. Cool concept, and it means that you go so drastically far from what we've seen of the character before that you don't have to draw visual allusions and parallels to the original Omega designs from the 70s and the 80s. But then there is a big exposition dump in Unit HQ when Kate and Mel, who know about Omega, and Mel's met the Rani, where they do just say what these characters are and what they do, and okay, maybe you could have explained that through their actions or through, you know, the characters themselves, rather than having these avatars of the classic series kind of exposit it and yell it across a room. Mrs. Flood gets out alive. They did the two Ronnies bit. Okay, she's out there. The boss is still a thing. So and then the doctor's like, okay, park that. So there's clearly still more themes to go through. There's more to be resolved in this era. It will just be with a different doctor. And yeah, I remember when I did my live stream reaction to the Interstellar Song Contest, and everyone was like, no, it's Secret Good, 4th good Sherlock episode. Apple Tree Yard is real for Interstellar Song Contest, because obviously we're going to return to Kid, obviously we're going to return to all of this stuff. And then they just they didn't. Okay, so I'm owed an apology from my live chat, who you can't see because this is not live. But why were the corporation droids from the Interstellar Song Contest the same droids that the Ranis had in the Bone Palace? I understand recycling costumes, but they never even draw attention to the fact that these are just recycled. I don't know, it's weird. So, when it comes to the reality war, I think that there are some brilliant moments, really lovely moments. I think my favourite is actually revolving around Ruby, when she's in the TARDIS with Belinda and the Doctor and Poppy, and they take off Poppy's puffer jacket coat, and the Doctor and Belinda are passing it to each other and reminiscing, and with each pass it's getting smaller, and it's the fabric is condensing and it's like withering away, and only Ruby can see it. I thought that was really lovely. That was like really quietly tragic. And then Ruby as a character kind of almost comes full circle when she convinces the Doctor to go back and, you know, no child left behind, no person left behind. Poppy and Belinda and Ruby and Conrad should not be abandoned and forgotten. I thought that was really lovely. I thought that was a really nice little capper. And if the Doctor was going to regenerate, you know, the regeneration itself was sort of like, okay, how do I die? Then, okay, I'm just going to make it happen. At least thematically, it was very nice. But then with Ruby, early on, when time is restored in Unit HQ, it was so strange how Kate presses a button on her desk, and it turns out that the staff at Unit are chipped, and their necks start beeping, and Shirley rolls away, goes all back to the future with the tire track flame marks. Ruby's got one as well. Oh god, the people who hated Lucky Day for its politics and thinking that Unit maybe is a bit authoritarian and over-militarized, and Conrad was right to question it. Oh god, they might have been vindicated there somewhat. As all of the staff at Unit are chipped, like some kind of suicide squad. If Kate presses the wrong button, does Ruby's head explode? That's a different way. That's a different ending to the finale. That's the alternative ending. That's the secret bad 4th Sherlock episode. So yeah, Ruby's journey in this story, and then she's the foundling, and Poppy is the foundling, and the Doctor. I thought that wrapped up relatively nicely. But like I said, I don't think that the third act, the multiple act 20-minute epilogue, was meant to be the original ending of the story. There's that promotional image that's been going around of the Doctor and Belinda dancing at a rave, and it says like Happy May Day on the back and neon in the background. I'm assuming that's the original ending. maybe we'll get that on a DVD at some point, or a Blu-ray, or they'll release it on the YouTube channel at some point. So in terms of the story itself, I think that Archie Panjabi as the Rani, completely wasted. She's trying with the material. She's not a character. She's just a walking reference to the past in a pretty cool outfit. And then she gets eaten by a big CGI monster. And she completely wasted, unfortunately. You know, good get for the show. They just didn't really have her do much. That was a big shame, I think. And for the rest of it, for the big epilogue, for the big finale thing. Okay, so like I said, mostly sold out screening. Full of fans, full of people, you know, who walked in happy to be there, from what I could tell. And then Jodie Whittaker appears on screen. I forgot that leaked. So that was, oh yeah, I remember that was something that leaked on Reddit. God, they've got to do something about the security at Bad Wolf. Like, they've got to do, something's got to happen there. Some heads have got to roll. I don't know how, I don't know who, but God, that is probably the leakiest season. And I understand we are in an information super age, but something, you've got to somehow stop that leak. Russell, Jane, Julie. So yeah, Jodie Whittaker comes along to help the 15th Doctor through it. That was really nice. Really great to see Jodie back and in that TARDIS set with the same energy. It's like she never left. It was only a couple of years ago, but still, it was lovely to see her. That was a really nice little lovely scene. And the audience cheered. They were so happy to see her again, which was really lovely to see. You kind of forget that when you're in these online spaces of these like reactionary Conrad-esque grifters online, pushing so much hate and like fake information and trying to force a narrative and stuff, that Jodie, at least as an actress, as a Doctor actor, as a character, is pretty well beloved and really liked in the fandom and really appreciated. And it was great that the screening applauded when she turned up. That was really lovely and heartwarming to see. She was great. She was great with Ncuti. That was lovely to see. And that a little bit with Yaz, canonizing Yaz, Thasmin, fun stuff. And then the Doctor goes back to Belinda's house, and yeah, I'm gonna need to rewatch this to see and figure out if it actually works or not. But the idea that the reality was nudged and Belinda was always meant to be heading back to see Poppy for this dad character we have never met and never see, who has never been mentioned up until this point, and we flash back to all of these scenes which never happened. That was fine in principle, but the cheat when the Doctor goes to save Belinda from a car when she's 7 years old, that we've never seen or heard that before. That is a bit Empire of Death-esque, when it turns out that the big save of Empire of Death takes place from a deleted scene from 73 yards that we never saw, which is bonkers and stupid and mad. It's not as bad here, but it is like, why did we never hear or know anything about this car, like near miss with a car when she was 7? That seems a bit of a cheat. The rest of it, though, is deliberately a cheat. It's deliberately, time has shifted, something weird's gone. But it also means that what's Carol Ann Ford doing? What was that about? Why? Yeah. Presumably that's going to pay off later. I don't know. Well, fuck knows at this point. but yeah. Rogue also, that didn't pay off, or like maybe last week's cameo was the payoff. Don't know. So for the regeneration, you know, going in and not knowing that would happen, you know, tense, edge of your seat stuff for a Doctor Who fan, I guess. And it just kind of made me wish, however, that, you know, Ncuti probably deserved a bit better. We'll know in the coming months and years what his rationale was for leaving, and I don't blame him really if he's an actor on the rise, a star on the rise, and waiting for confirmation to film something is holding him back from other opportunities. I get it. I get it as an actor. He's a young up and coming star who, you know, Doctor Who shouldn't be holding him back. And, you know, so I have massive sympathy for him, but it just means that now you've got this pretty short run. It would be like if David Tennant regenerated in Gridlock or in Daleks Take Manhattan in terms of length of like episodes. Yeah, it doesn't feel long enough, but you know, that's the production logistics, I guess, of trying to do 2 seasons back to back and then not even commissioning or having public confirmation of commissioning. like like over a year after you finished filming like your last scenes. So I understand completely, but it just means that it doesn't feel like his time had really come properly. It felt like he deserved better. It felt like he deserved more. It felt like his doctor deserved more. And yeah, so it's a shame. It is a shame, I think, to lose him so early. And then he regenerates into Billie Piper. So I mentioned on my stream when the rumor started circulating, the leak started circulating, I didn't believe it, but I mentioned that I would be very unhappy if that was the case, because it ends up kind of feeling like it's just the Bad Wolf Club, that they're the ones who have autonomy and authority over who gets to be in the Doctor Who club. Like, you know, David Tennant comes back, Catherine Tate comes back, Russell T Davies comes back, the producers, Phil Collins and Julie Gardner, they come back as well. Murray Gold comes back, etc. And then Billie Piper is now the Doctor. Maybe I'll touch on that in a moment. But it feels like it feels like such a club that it feels like shouldn't it be somebody else's chance to be the Doctor? Someone who hasn't been part of the universe yet, that gets a chance to shine. You know, it's great when Jo Martin gets to be a fugitive Doctor, because she's, you know, it's a new actor gets to be part of this mad bonkers universe. John Hurt gets to be part of this mad bonkers universe. It's carving a new path forward. It's like opening up the universe, space for all, as the Series 12 tagline said, which I think is a great tagline for the show generally and the fandom. Space for all. But then when Billie Piper is potentially the Doctor, it's like, oh no, actually, a new actress, a new actor has been denied having their reveal because it's Russell T Davies's friends. It's people who have been involved in the show before, who have got priors with the show before, and it ends up... This sounds harsher than I mean it to be, but it almost feels like Russell and Bad Wolf and stuff pulling the ladder up, you know, from a new potential great actor, or a really strong established actor who could, you know, do just as good a job as Billie Piper, who is an outstanding, amazing actress, but she's had multiple years in the Doctor Who universe, and I think it should be somebody else's go. That being said, the ending credits had Ncuti Gatwa as the Doctor, Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor, and introducing Billie Piper. And a BBC News article, which is the only press statements that I had seen, an official one, at time of making this video and hitting record, was that a surprise regeneration for Ncuti Gatwa, and he appears to regenerate into Billie Piper. And the wording said something along the lines of, if confirmed as the Doctor, she will be the first female Doctor since Jodie Whittaker, or words to that effect, if confirmed. So my guess might be that maybe she is a placeholder, and they'll timey-wimey it, or they'll have something, because, you know, maybe the last person to have, you know, a place in the TARDIS's heart was Rose as Billie Piper, so that's why she's regenerated. Something, I don't know, they'll figure it out. But, well, to be fair, they never really came up with a good justification as to why the 14th Doctor had the same face as the 10th. They technically explained it, I just don't think it was a good reason to clarify. So yeah, but like, if that is the case, that it's a placeholder Doctor for a Christmas special or future specials while the show figures out what's happening with its future, whether or not Disney renew or they have to get funding elsewhere or figure something else out, restructure. If this is a placeholder Doctor, I get it, and it's pretty cool, you know, maybe to get Billie Piper as a non-numbered incarnation. But if that's the case, once again, why couldn't it have just been a really outside the box, like, big bit of stunt casting, like a John Hurt type? Yeah, bloody Helen Mirren as the Doctor, or you know, a Stephen Graham. Although I was called racist on Twitter the other week for having Stephen Graham as my, you know, Doctor Who 1888 fan cast proposal, even though I also was like, yeah, Ncuti could do this if he stays on. This is just another idea. And what's funny is Stephen Graham's technically mixed race, so I was so not racist. Nah, Twitter's gonna Twitter. Twitter hates me. If this video, I give yellow text to this video thumbnail, I will also be called racist, so I don't really care what they think. It's just very funny. But yeah, if you are having a placeholder stunt cast doctor for a Christmas special or a special or whatever, while the show recalibrates, then, you know, I'm trying to think of international audiences. Someone who's maybe just started watching Doctor Who from America or from another country outside of the UK, watching on Disney Plus, who doesn't have access to classic Who or any episode prior to the Star Beast on Disney Plus. And firstly, who's who's this Doctor Jodie Whittaker lady who appeared in the TARDIS? But also, who I don't know who Billie Piper is. Billie Piper is a big, massive star in the UK. I don't know if she has international reach. Does she? I could be underestimating. She was a pop star. Are shows like I Hate Susie big in America? I don't know. Like, maybe my international viewers will let me know. But yeah, maybe you do want to go for a big international appeal stunt cast name for this sort of interim period, if that is what's happening. I'm just thinking out loud here. But yeah, I think it's a shame to get Billie Piper in. Not because I have issue with her personally, or I think that she's bad. No, obviously not. I think that she's been great in the fandom. She's been great. She's frequently returned for Big Finish and at conventions and stuff. She's been very active. I wonder what Christopher Eccleston thinks of that. I don't know. But yeah, I think it's a shame that you're casting within the Bad Wolf Club again. It sends the wrong message, I think. That Doctor Who belongs to this inner group, this inner circle, and other actors aren't in it. They can't be considered. I think even if that is not in reality the case, I think that's the message it sends. I think that also, yeah, because a bunch of stuff in this finale was like, we've done this before, we've done this so many times before. Even when the Doctor uses the power of 5 billion supernovas to blast Omega back into the door, very similar to Invasion of Time, when the Doctor's got the DMAT gun. But the idea that, you know, he's sending Omega to hell, we've done this before. Mickey in Doomsday even drew attention to this. Like, you're sending the Daleks and Cybermen to hell. Like, we've done this before. When the Doctor is talking to Anita in Poppy's bedroom and is saying stuff like, "Oh, I've fought gods. I've been to the Satan pit, and I've done this. Watch this on the Whoniverse iPlayer tab." And nothing is more important than what's happening in this room. So we've done this before. I know it's Russell's philosophy for Doctor Who, but we know Russell's philosophy for Doctor Who, and I want to see other people's philosophy for Doctor Who. I think that Russell would be great as a producer and or script editor, senior script editor. But as head writer, even though I think The Reality War is better than Empire of Death, and I'm feeling more positive now than I was nearly a year ago in this car with my drink after a big finale cinema screening with a bunch of friends, I still am convinced now more than ever that Russell should not be showrunning. I think he's had his go. He's said what he wanted to say, and we're 2 seasons in. His message fundamentally has not changed. Not an issue with the guy personally, but I think an Inua Ellams, who brought us the story in the engine, Sharma Angel-Orful, who co-wrote The Well, and you know, those new voices, Pete Matthaig for Lucky Day. You know, we're going to see his philosophy, I guess, for The War Between the Land and Sea. No release date for that, which is interesting. I think they're going to push that to the new year. That's my theory. We didn't even get a release date in the teaser trailer. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see when that drops. But yeah, I think if Russell insists on having some sort of authority on Doctor Who, while it finds new voices, while it finds a new guard, then I think he shouldn't be showrunning it. And Russell is the guy who got me into TV. I'm the reason why I have to record this now and edit it really quickly because I'm at work at 5 a.m. in studio. You know, he's the reason. I actually, I can't remember if I've said this, but I met him a few months ago at a screening of a film called Layla, which he was basically shepherding the writer-director of it, and he hosted a Q&A with the writer-director of the film. And I briefly got to meet him outside of the screening. And I don't know if he recognized me. If he did, he didn't let on. But we shook hands, and I was like, I just wanted to say you're the reason I wanted to work in TV. That's true. And for the 20 years later reaction videos that I've been doing for the Series 1's 20th anniversary, you know, that series, the Doctor Who Confidential episodes, Russell T Davies's work is what made me want to work in the creative field. It's the reason I am working in the creative field. So I owe Russell so much. So I think he shouldn't be show running Doctor Who, because I think it's someone else's go. And I want to know what they have to say about the world and the universe. I want to know what their spin on the Doctor and companion dynamic is. Yeah. And I also think that because of the logistics of the production as well, either Ruby Sunday's been completely dropped, or they are going to revisit her again. I don't know. It felt like Belinda got the big wrap up and Ruby just gets left at Unit Tower. Yeah. Maybe Millie Gibson comes back. She's a star. She's a born star. She's gonna go so far. So, yeah. And Valida Sethu's great as well. It would have been nice to have had a characterization of her that was stronger. She's, as an actress, she's amazing. But all the stuff we saw at the beginning of the Robot Revolution, when she's like, I'm not one of your adventures, like you scanned my DNA without... That did not last beyond that episode. It didn't, yeah. It's not so much an issue of having 8 episode series, although I think that is partially an issue. A big part of it is the run times. It needs to be 50 to 55 minute episodes if you're going to have these 8 episode series, but it is also just the lack of priorities for it. It's going for vibes, it's going for spectacle, even though spectacle is still limited because so much of it is shot in controlled studio environments. I think you need a lot more location filming. But anyway, I'm just rambling. My ADHD is kicking in because my tablets are kicking, they're fading away. Ooh. So yeah, the future of the show, I don't know. We're in this weird period now. We've got a spin-off dropping in the near future that looked interesting. Like, it didn't feel like a Doctor Who show in a good way. It felt like a weird courtroom procedural, which is interesting, you know. I appreciate the vibe and tone shift, but it's a case of like Billie Piper may be the next Doctor, but at time of hitting record, we've not had confirmation if there is going to be another series, if there is going to be a Christmas special this year or whatever. We're in this really weird grace period, and that was not meant to happen when it was announced just over 3 years ago that Ncuti Gatwa was going to be the Doctor, David Tennant, Catherine Tate coming back for specials, and Bad Wolf and Rusty Davis was happening again. That, you know, we are now 3 years out from that announcement, and it feels like the future of Doctor Who is precarious again. And I think a big part of that is because Russell returned and placed so much emphasis on the past of the show. And I think maybe it's, you know, meant to be super profound subtext that I don't get, but the idea of Omega being this husk of the show's past that's massive and can't even make its way through the doorway and eats Archie Panjabi, and then the Doctor just nukes it with a gun that has the power of 50 million supernovas. I don't know. Maybe that's Russell lashing out. The idea that he thinks that Doctor Who's best days are behind it and it's now lugging around this big corpse. It doesn't have to be that way. Mrs. Flood could have been an original character. You didn't have to regenerate the Doctor into Billie Piper. You didn't have to regenerate them into David Tennant again. These are active creative choices. The show's future can be as good as its past. You just have to believe it. That's the reality I'm fighting for in this reality war. Boom! Anyway, live streaming on Monday night. Thoughts in the comments below, let me know. Hit the like button while you're down there. Pieces of the YouTube algorithm. We recently hit 43,000 subscribers, so massive thank you to all of you folks. I'll see you folks in the next live stream. Hopefully come Monday night, we will have more information onto the future of the show. But until then, from my car, I'll see you folks next time.